Hey guys, welcome back. Drip Coach here, where we don't trust, we verify, and operate with integrity and transparency. So another walk and talk, still in the city of Medellin. But by the time you guys see this video, I'll actually probably be in Bolivia. So a long time ago, I created this goal of trying to visit every country on a continent. Pick one continent and visit every country on that continent. And I told myself that Australia didn't count. So here we are with South America, and I visited a couple places before I went to Asia for 9 years. So now I'm trying to check the rest of those boxes. So I'll be heading to Bolivia, Paraguay, Uruguay, before the end of the year, actually. It's about 2 weeks in each one. Today is more of a rant and just recording while I walk through the city. But there was this clip that I'm actually going to do a separate video on, but it's a great talking point that Jeff Booth brought up. I think he was at Bitcoin DC or DC Bitcoin. I can't remember what the conference was, but it was recently. So by the time you see this, maybe about 2 weeks ago or whatever. And there was one piece that he said at the very end of this talk that he said, the only reason why we have assets is because the money is broken. And I never thought about that. Like I said, man, Jeff to me is so articulate, purposeful, intentful, whatever you want to call it, to where he drops these like one-liners that are very easy to dismiss. Like his most famous phrase that he says, the natural state of the free market is deflation. That's like 9 words, but they have so much weight and impact if you actually take the time to internalize that. But I've already broke that down multiple times, and I still keep coming back to that statement because it's necessary for you to understand kind of where we're at and where fiat and stuff and the economy is going. So let's go back to this, the only reason why we have asset statement. So think about that. The only reason why we have assets is because the money is broken. That is insane when you start to break that down. So like the most common asset that the average American has been told to acquire is a home, right? But if you look at assets from their actual inherent purpose, an asset is something that sits on a balance sheet and provides value, brings in income. It's not a liability, it doesn't take away from your baseline capital or net worth or anything like that. It adds to it, right? And a lot of times assets are things that typically appreciate in value, meaning you buy this thing that's an asset at one price, and over time it's worth more, even if you don't sell it, just the value that you could declare from it. So like, you know, paintings, like rare paintings, of course, not anybody's paintings, collectibles, houses, things of that nature, right? So let's go back to the house one, because that's probably the most common asset that people are familiar with. So if the only reason to acquire multiple assets or assets in general is because the money is broken, what would that statement look like if the money wasn't broken? So we have to unpack how a lot of people, especially nowadays, looking at the boomer class, have acquired multiple homes. But what is the real purpose of a home? It's to live in, and you can only live in one home at a time. Now you could argue that if you have a vacation home, maybe, you know, but do you really actually need a vacation home? Again, a vacation home is a place for you to live in while on vacation. So I've been living out of hotels. Not to say you have to live out of hotels, but definitely since the dawn of Airbnb, you don't need to own a home to have a place to stay. But obviously Airbnb wouldn't exist if most people didn't purchase extra homes and assets and rent them out. But you get my point, right? So you can only stay in one home at a time. So what has happened is that the boomers or other people who acquire multiple homes have acquired them as a way to store their money because the money is broken. So they use it as a way to hedge against the inflation or debasement of currency. So they're like, oh, let me get another house. It's like, I'm making money, but I can't leave my money in a bank, or I can't just keep all of my money in cash because I know that cash over time is going down. So let me put it in something else that will appreciate, i.e. an asset. And one of the most common assets that the boomers understand is real estate. So purchasing extra homes. This goes back to Jack Mallers' statement that he says kids his age, I'm saying kids because I'm older than Jack, but adults his age have been priced out of homes. The average home, I've showed these stats to you before, the average home in the US now requires 7 to 9 times your annual income. Like that is insane. It's for you to be able to finance a place to live, a home, a place to live, a place to raise your kids, a place to be secure. It's not a place to store your economic energy into the future, but that's what it has become. So going back to Jeff Boo's statement, the only reason why we have assets is because the money's broken. So if the money wasn't broken, you would not need to store your money, your economic energy in an asset. You could just keep it in the money. Like, how baffling is that? Like, you could just, like, if we were sitting on the Bitcoin standard, I'd say, that's where this rant is going. You don't need to purchase anything else. Bitcoin becomes the transactional settlement layer for you to purchase your meal for the day. And then it also becomes where you just leave your paycheck each week, each month. So as you're getting paid, you don't need to buy anything else. You can just leave it in Bitcoin. And then you can purchase sats for the things you need on a day-to-day basis, transportation, clothing, food, any of that stuff. You don't have to go from one thing to the other. Like, that is fascinating to think about. And I don't believe we ever get to a global Bitcoin standard. There are some thought exercises like Samson Mow was talking about, because when you look at history and you look at fiat collapse, it is gradually and then suddenly. Like, I can see that, like, again, with the Venezuelan economy right next door, go all the way back to World War II and the German franc. There's other countries in between there that have experienced it. And they have typically, if they have a strong arm kind of military or government, they're able to create a new unit of exchange, a new fiat. But if they don't, then countries, i.e. Ecuador, i.e. now the black market in Venezuela, they move to the dollar because it is globally recognized as a medium of exchange and is a global reserve currency. And everything settles in dollars. Foreign trade policy. If you want to exchange rice for something and you're coming out of Cambodia, well, you go out of the Cambodian riel into the dollar. That dollar goes to the other country that wants to buy it, goes from that to, the bolivar, and then back to the local country. So the dollar is that de facto bridge across all other foreign currencies. So I'm bringing that up because as this fiat Ponzi pyramid collapses, Samson believes that it will push these people that are in other countries that are currently in the dollar to Bitcoin, because they've already tried it on their own with their own currency. It failed. The citizens, rallied against whatever the next regime was going to be, and so they went with the dollar. So if the dollar fails, it's like, wait a minute, our local country can't create it. The dollar has just failed. What's the next best alternative? Gold is, it's there, it's sound, it's historically proven, but it's not easy to just slice off pieces of in exchange. So he believes there will be this Bitcoin hyperlization where everything is priced in Bitcoin and sats. And that's where we get to dollar sat parity. I don't know, but the TLDR and the whole point of this video is that I do agree with Jeff's statement that assets are only around because the money is broken. And if you fix the money, then there is no longer a need for assets. And as everyone's competing, like Jeff talks about, then it naturally starts to bring the price of other goods, services, and assets down. Assets only continue to go up because the money's broken. If the money wasn't broken and you didn't need to store your economic energy in that asset and you'd have other people bidding on that, then it would actually be the opposite, because the cost of building homes and things of that nature has gone down over time. So therefore, the cost to acquire them should go down over time, as long as people are not putting their economic energy and wealth into it to drive the price up. So when prices start to fall, like he says, they will fall to the margin of productivity against Bitcoin, and everything gets repriced, then that kind of ties into Samson Mow's theory about hyper-Bitcoinization. So I don't know, I'm just kind of ranting and raving about different things, but like everything points to Bitcoin. There's that moniker that Bitcoin fixes everything. And the more you start to dig into stuff, it's like, you know what? There is a shred of truth. It's kind of tongue in cheek to say it, so simply, but if you could fix the fact that we can't infinitely print paper, so therefore we can't fund wars, and you can't store your economic energy and assets, so pricing of housing doesn't go up. We have no more wars. You have affordable housing for everyone. And then the food and other stuff that you spend money on goes down as well. It's like, well, yeah, what does that do to society? I don't know, but it sounds like a much better dystopia or utopia future than what we currently have now. So let me know what your thoughts are. Do you believe that, assets are necessary, or are they the result of a broken money system? All right, hope you enjoyed the walk and talk around Medellin. This will probably be the last one you see from here. Next one will be Bolivia, Santa Cruz. All right, smash that HBO special, help a brother out, like, subscribe, comment down below. And until next time, live daily and achieve your impossible. See ya.